Did you know that our attention spans have come down to as low as 8 seconds, according to recent research? In this fast paced world, in a world of short attention spans, we choose screens over anything else. We choose those small bouts of dopamine hits that we get all along the day. And it's not even our fault, really. It is just how our brains are wired to be. But if you do want to increase your attention span, and if you do want to focus for longer periods of time, this video is for you. And the perfect solution there is for all these problems and to increase your attention spans is reading. We all have heard the saying, exercise is to the body while reading is to the mind. And don't disregard this as something trivial, because I recently read that in research it was found that reading can improve our cognitive skills and our critical thinking skills. And not only that, when we read books, we are actually focusing on the story or the characters in the story. And this can help us to think about things from others' point of view, thinking from a different perspective. You must have often got this advice to think from the other person's shoes or think from their point of view, which is hard to do because we can never do that if we don't experience the same thing the other person is experiencing. But when we read about people in the books or articles or stories, it will help us imagine that person as ourselves. And this will help us do exactly thinking from others' point of view whenever we need to do so. And this is how we develop empathy towards other people. Feeling what the other person is feeling can be improved through reading. And when we read something interesting, we don't feel like doing anything else until we finish that part, until we finish reading that book, especially if it's something suspenseful or an interesting story. This can help us with our lack of attention and improve our focus. In a recent research conducted by Microsoft, it was found that our attention spans have come down to a bare minimum of 8 seconds, and reading might help us to improve this and get better with our attention spans. When we have a lot on our mind and we are too stressed, reading can help us go into another world altogether, and this can help us forget our worries and tensions for the time we are indulged in reading. And research have also proved that stress and anxiety reduced by 68% in people who read books. Stress now is a part of everyday life. So, if you do want to find a budget-friendly way of dealing with stress, this is your sign to start reading books that you enjoy. Now, there is also always this advantage of gaining knowledge and insights into things which you didn't know before or which you wanted to explore more when you start reading books. This can make you more interesting as a person because you have more things to say when you're in conversation with people. You can share interesting things with people from your knowledge that you have gained from these books. Overall, you will become more interesting, a good conversationalist, and a person who can talk to people when you read books. When we face problems or situations we have never faced before, we become confused, worried, but reading books can always help us to deal with such situations better. While reading a story or a novel with characters facing different problems, failures, heartbreaks, the story is actually impacting our brain to think critically, to have an understanding of different types of problems and how these characters are solving their problems, help us develop our critical thinking skills, making us stronger and ready to face these challenges. Did you know that people who read a lot are able to recollect things very quickly compared to those who didn't? Yes, reading also has a great impact on our memory, and when we are reading more, we are training our memory. When we read a lot, we are introduced to new vocabulary, new grammar, and it improves our language and even our communication skills. Language is understandable, but how does it improve your communication? Research has found that reading and speaking have the same centers that are activated in the brain, and when we are reading so much new stuff every day, the vocabulary automatically gets into our conversations too. And if you have sleep problems, reading can help you sleep better too. Turns out one of the most important and interesting benefits of reading is that it can help us live longer. A 12-year study conducted on health and retirement found that people who read books lived 2 or more years longer than those who didn't read. And research also found that the risk of developing diseases like Alzheimer's is very less in people who read regularly. So, the saying that exercise is to the body where reading is to the mind is true after all. So, what are we still waiting for? It's time to get into the habit of reading books as soon as possible and as much as possible to be able to face those challenges that we have been facing, or to even think properly, to relax, to get rid of our stress, or to be a good conversationalist. So I hope this video motivated you enough to start reading and make it a habit to read every day. I'll see you in this video right here. Until then, you take care.